Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-002 Human Resource Management for MBA program. Presenting Block 1 Introduction to Human Resource Management. Unit-3 Environment and HRM Part 1. After completing this unit, you should be able to understand the environmental or organizational factors and its influence on HRM, explain the concept of strategic HRM, discuss the importance of international HRM, understand the concept of HR analytics, and highlight the emerging trends, that is, Fourth Industrial Revolution and artificial intelligence and its influence on HRM. Introduction. HRM is a major management function for managing people in organizations. It has evolved over a period of time due to impact of changing organizational environment. An organizational environment is composed of several forces or factors that affect the short-term as well as long-term objectives. Since they have a direct influence on the organization, the human resources of an organization also get exposed to it, and thus their functions and performance affects. The analysis and scanning of the environment by an HR manager to proactively devise a course of action for human resource to avoid future uncertain negative consequences and intense competition. Such scanning is usually done under two types of environment, internal and external. New trends and developments are always observed in the HRM operations. Some of the recent developments include strategic HRM, international HRM, and HR analytics. Similarly, the changes in organizational environment, which is drastically changing the HRM operations, are the Fourth Industrial Revolution and artificial intelligence that are discussed in this unit. Organizational environment and HRM. Environmental influences are factors that impact the human resource management operations within an organization. Factors influencing human resource management are not static. Factors influencing HRM can be classified into two categories, that is, external environment and internal environment. These factors are constantly changing, and HR managers must continually monitor these internal and external factors and make corresponding changes in the HR strategy. External environment. It includes factors like government regulations, economic conditions, technological advancements, and workforce demographics. Government regulations. Presence of government regulations with the introduction of new workplace compliance with respect to work, workers, and workplace, HR is constantly under pressure to stay within the law. These types of regulations influence every process of the HR department, including hiring, training, compensation, termination, and much more. Without adhering to such regulations, a company can be fined extensively, which, if it was bad enough, could cause the company to shut down. Economic conditions. One of the biggest external influences is the shape of the current economy. Not only does it affect the talent pool, but it might affect your ability to hire anyone at all. One of the biggest ways to prepare against economic conditions is to not only know what's happening in the world around you, but also create a plan for when there is an economic downturn. All companies can make do in a bad company if they have a rainy day fund or plan to combat the harsh environment. Technological advancements. This is considered an external influence because when new technologies are introduced, the HR department can start looking at how to downsize and look for ways to save money. A job that used to take 2 to 4 people could be cut to 1 day by a single person. Technology is revolutionizing the way we do business, and not just from a consumer standpoint, but from an internal cost savings way. Workforce demographics. As the older generation retires and a new generation enters the workforce, the Human Resources Department must look for ways to attract this new set of candidates. They must hire by adapting different methods and offer different types of compensation packages that work for this younger generation. At the same time, they must offer a conducive work environment. Legal factors. Legal factors like organizational health, trading, competition, and regulations from legal firms directly affect a business. The important legislations affecting HRM in India are Factories Act 1948, Trade Unions Act 1926, the Payment of Wages Act 1936, the Minimum Wages Act 1948, Employee State Insurance Act 1948, Workmen Compensation Act 1923, the Payment of Bonus Act 1965, the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, the Apprentice Act 1961, and the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act 1946, etc. HRM must operate within the law and stay updated on legal changes. Legislative factors determine the grievances HRM has to address. The external environment that can affect any business operation can be summarized as PESTEL, that is, political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legislative factors. PESTEL changes are continuously impacting on human resource policies. These factors affect the internal operations regardless of the fact that they are outside the organization. Political factors. They include government funding, initiatives and grants, political instability, taxation, and relationship with other governments impact directly on human resource practices. Therefore, it is important to check these factors prior to establishing an operation. Economic factors. Economic factors such as inflation, unemployment, exchange rates, interest rates, rate of economic development, government and consumer spending directly affect the organizations. Higher interest rates hinder investments and this raises the cost of borrowing. Inflation in commodity prices may make employees demand more money as salaries and this will in turn raise operational costs of the company. An increase in disposable income will as well create a broad market for the products manufactured by the company. Social factors. Lifestyle, ethics, demographics, education and culture are some of the social factors that affect the business operations. Any change in these factors will have a greater influence in demand for products and the availability of workforce willing to labor for the company. Understanding the surrounding culture helps HRM put in place a culture that blends with its environment. Social changes affect organizational culture and have enabled organizations embrace cultural differences. HR practitioners need to keep abreast of social changes in order to fully understand their employees. Technological factors. Technical research, purchasing power, technological innovation, and intellectual capacity affect HR operations. Any change in technology creates a need to restructure human resource structure and policies. Technology has found its way into business operations such as marketing and selling through online shopping and computer designs to alter how business functions are carried out. Today, recruitment and selection processes can easily be done on an online platform. Human resource management creates online portal to increase efficiency in these processes. This has eliminated the cost of advertising vacancies as candidates visit websites to find vacancies. Internal environment. Internal environment factors are also known as organizational factors. According to Kotler and Armstrong, the internal environment that affect human resource practitioners comprises of customers, consumers, suppliers, compensation, new entrants, and competitors. HRM professionals need to consider internal environment in many aspects. They are: number 1, compensation. The amount of compensation a business offers attracts employees to an organization or keeps them away. In an economy characterized by high unemployment rate and many qualified individuals, compensation may be low. When there are a small number of candidates, HRM should attract them by increasing compensation so as not to lose them to competitors. A survey of compensation structure of an industry will help a company have competitive offers in order to gain a competitive advantage over others in terms of attracting and retaining employees. However, the offer should not be too high in such a way that they bring losses to the company. Experienced staff should be given more compensation than recently recruited graduates in the same job category. Number 2, employee relations. Human resource activities must consider several factors like training their staff before promoting them when their recruitment policies are based on internal promotion. They should monitor retiring employees so that replacement arrangements are made in time. Number 3, customer satisfaction. Change in customer preferences need to be taken into account since this affects service delivery. HRM should hire employees who have the consumer's interest at heart. Continuous training and retraining is important in order to increase performance and thereby satisfaction. Number 4, new entrants. These are businesses entering into an industry. New entrants offer competitive salaries that attract employees. HRM should analyze their industry in order to know new entrants. This will help them have strategies aimed at retaining in order to prevent them from being poached by the new entrant. Some of the important internal factors which can influence the HRM operations include: number 1, organization size. The size of organization has immense impact on HR practices. Larger the firm, more complex the HR practices. Large firms such as international or multinational have additional scope to their HR implementations. To put it another way, smaller firms generally have personnel management functions which could include either simple or less complicated. The style of management, whether autocratic or democratic, depends on the size of the firms. Number 2, organizational structure. Organizational structure is a system used to define a hierarchy within an organization. It identifies each job, its function, and where it reports to within the organization. A firm's strategy and structure are important in determining HR practices. With increase in global competition and highly changing business environment, HR practices are becoming more flexible and integrated. There are important structural differences among firms that affect the way in which HR practices are designed and implemented. Number 3, business strategy. To gain competitive advantage, firms use different competitive strategies. In order that the strategies prove advantageous, they have to be synchronized with the HR policies. Number 4, organization culture. Organizational culture is a system of shared assumptions, values, and beliefs which direct how people behave in organizations. These shared values have a strong influence on the people in the organization and dictate how they dress, act, and perform their jobs. Every organization develops and maintains a unique culture which provides guidelines and boundaries for the behavior of the members of the organization. Number 5, top management and line managers. The directives of top management and their concerns could be another factor that impact HRM practices. HRM policies depend upon the importance which top management assign to HR function. The top management set the course for formulation and implementation of HR activities. And number 6, power and politics. Organizational power and politics are crucial determinants of HR practices. While executing new policies and procedures in the organization, the role of power and politics is assumed. HR manager has to identify the critical element of the HR practices and accurately determine their source of power. Strategic human resource management. According to Anthony, strategy can be defined as the formulation of organizational missions, goals and objectives, as well as the action plans for achievement that explicitly recognize the competition and the impact of outside environmental forces. The classical approach of strategy refers to the ability, capacity, and readiness of the management to make long-term planning, to make decisions and actions to achieve the organizational goals effectively. Therefore, management can be seen as a field that deals with managerial decisions and actions to improve the long-run performance of the organizations. According to Crawshaw, Budwa, and Davis, strategic management incorporates: Number 1. Organizational identification. It refers to the identification of the purpose and mission of the organization that currently exist along with the goals and objectives that an organization strives to achieve with shared values and culture. Number 2. Environmental analysis. It refers to analyzing the internal as well as the external environment in which an organization operates. In assessment and analysis of internal and external influencing factors, an organization can identify its strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats prevailing in the business environment. Such an analysis is called SWOT, that is, Strength, Weakness, Opportunity, and Threats Analysis. Apart from SWOT analysis, PESTEL, that is Political, Economic, Social, Technological, Environmental, and Legal Analysis, is the most used technique to analyze the macro environment of an organization. Number 3. Strategy formulation. This aims at the identification of the basis for the firm's competitive advantage. The strategy formulation is a complex and comprehensive step as it needs to be flexible enough to incorporate a dynamic and uncertain business environment. Number 4. Strategy implementation. This is to make organizational strategy meeting its desired objectives. Its implementation in an effective manner is crucial. The exploitation of resources effectively, optimum utilization of management system, and implementation of effective HR practices are required for the implementation of organizational strategies. And number 5, strategy evaluation. It is an appropriate strategy that is formulated and its effective implementation is made. It's an evaluation at regular interval of time, and it is necessary to check whether the strategies are meeting their goals or not. Any deviation or variation in actual and desired result leads to corrective measure in some or all parts of strategy's formulation or implementation. All 3 levels of the organization, that is corporate, business, and functional area, involved in strategy formulation. The corporate level of an organization defines and develops a strategy for an entire organization. The managerial decision and actions for business units are defined in strategies formulated by the business level. To support the functions or operations of business units, policies, procedures, and practices are formulated under functional strategies. As HRM is one of the biggest functional areas of an organization, therefore, various HR decision and strategy formulation are made at a functional level. According to Schuler, 3 fundamental HR philosophies guide and provides values for managing the people of the organization. These are accumulation, utilization, and facilitation. Whereas Armstrong identified 4 fundamental HR areas that define philosophies and policies in specific areas of HRM. They are: Number 1, employee resourcing, that is planning, recruitment, selection, separation, talent management. Number 2, employee development, that is training, development, careers, performance management. Number 3, employer rewards, that is job evaluation, compensation, incentives, benefits, and number 4, employee relations, that is participation, involvement, communication, health and safety. The understanding of strategic management in the previous section would now help us to assimilate the concept of strategic human resource management. According to Snell, all those HR activities that support and direct towards organizational strategies are called strategic human resource management. Assenting on the same, Armstrong and Long also views it as an overall direction in which an organization would like to move to achieve its objectives through human resources. Many times the concepts like strategic human resource management and human resource strategies are considered one and something, but they are not. HRM strategy refers to central philosophy, that is, an idea to manage people of the organization by translating HR strategies into HR policies and practices that are in alignment with the overall organizational strategies. In other words, strategic human resource management is a theoretical framework within HR strategies that are formulated and that forms a roadmap for achieving organizational objectives. According to Crawshaw, Budway, and Ann Davis, strategic HRM is the process that links HRM policies and practices with the strategic objectives of the organization to improve performance. Theories of strategic HRM. In the field of strategic human resource management, two theories dominated the academic world, namely the resource-based view of Barney and the integration approach. Barney's theory. According to Barney, the human resource management influences performance that depends on the human capital resources held by the organization. Human capital is the vital resource of an organization that works for the organization and contributes towards organizational success. Though there are other vital resources held by an organization like technology, information, finance, etc., yet human resources are the only area wherein an organization can achieve a competitive advantage. In the dynamic cutthroat competition in business, to stand alone and may be strong in the market, the organization must acquire and develop those human resources that are better skilled and capable than the other competitors in the industry. To achieve a competitive advantage over other rivals, resources must be rare, valuable, inimitable, and non-substitutable. And with unique and valuable human resources, an organization can achieve a competitive advantage. The three approaches that can include under-resource-based view are: number 1, high-performance management, developing several interrelated human resource processes and their implementation collectively can enhance organizational performance. Number 2, high-commitment management. Organization performance can strongly be influenced and enhanced with a level of mutual commitment and high level of trust. Number 3, high involvement management. Communication with employees and their involvement in the organization process develops a sense of belongingness amongst them and lead to high performance. Integration approach. As the name suggests, it is an integration or link between the HRM strategies and performance. It works on the principle that HR policies and practices under HRM must be in alignment with the overall organizational strategies. Three possible types of integration can be discussed under this theory: horizontal integration, vertical integration, and combined integration. Horizontal integration. Under such integration, an organization aims at developing and reinforcing interconnected HR practices with the view that their alignment would generate superior outputs. Underlying this assertion is the premise that there exists a set of HR best practices that fit together and mutually reinforce each other. In the horizontal integration, the emphasis is on the synergy between internal fit. The concept explaining the combined performance of a set of HR policies and practices is greater than the sum of their performance. The universalistic model of Delury and Doughty is based on the assumptions that best HR practices are universally applicable. According to Osterman and the Hughes-Lid, the universalistic theorist, the assumptions of this model are: number 1, The relationship between HR practices and business is linear. Best HR practices can be applied universally everywhere, and the key to the concept is internal fit. Vertical integration. Vertical integration aims at developing various HR practices that are beyond the area of HRM. The basic principle of this concept is that high performance can be maintained with the right match between business strategies and HR practices. For instance, to introduce innovative behavior within the organization, those HR practices that can encourage cooperation, interdependence, and fostering creative and risk-taking behavior are emphasized. Similarly, for achieving the high-quality objectives, the quality of high reliable behavior is sought. The contingency model of Dellery and Doughty expresses that external fit, best fit, and strategic fit are considered to be the alternative expression of vertical fit. According to Schiller and Jackson, the assumptions of this model are: Number 1. The relationship between HR practices and business performance is non-linear. Number 2. The impact of HR practices on performance varies with different level of critical contingency variables. And number 3. External fit is the key concept. Combined integration. As the name suggests, combined integration is a combination of internal and external fit. Under this approach, bundles of HR practices are incorporated. Depending on the context of the organization, a different combination of HR practices may lead to higher business performances. Adding to this, Richardson and Thompson commented that with bundles of interrelated and complementing horizontal integration HR practices, a higher level of performance can be achieved with a higher level of fit with its business strategies, that is, vertical integration. Dellery and Doughty termed this combined integration approach as a configuration model. The assumptions of the configuration model are: Number 1. The relationship between HR practices, configuration, and business performance is non-linear. Number 2. HR practices with multiple configurations lead to maximal business performance, which is called equifinality. Number 3. The configuration is assumed to be ideal types that are theoretical constructs rather than empirically observable phenomena. And number 4, the key concept is internal as well as external fit. You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC-002 Human Resource Management. Course Coordinator Professor Nayantara Padhi from School of Management Studies IGNOU. Voiceover by Harpreet Kaur. Edited by Tarannum Jahan. Program assisted by Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.